Macca was slouched over the counter of his shop, chatting lazily with Caleb when the door creaked open. In stepped Mary Jane, tired, disheveled, and barely holding herself together.
Jesus,
Macca said, straightening slightly.
what the fuck's wrong with you?
Mary Jane glanced up at him and gave a shrug.
Fucking knackered.
Are you okay?
Caleb asked, eyeing her.
You don't look too well. Got any of that money left?
Macca raised an eyebrow, fixing her with a knowing stare.
Oh yes, young lady, money for rent.
Mary Jane hesitated. She looked caught out.
Oh, no, gone long ago.
Macca smirked.
What a surprise.
He knew Mary Jane. Knew her too well, really. She owed him a shitload in rent. But she'd done him a few favors, dubious ones, the kind best left unspoken. And for all his sarcasm, a part of him still felt for her.
I ain't seen Loverboy for a couple of days. He working?
Macca asked. Mary Jane shrugged.
He's lodging down the street.
Oh dear, lover's tiff again?
No, chuck the fucker out.
Macca and Caleb shared a look.
Explains the broken window then.
Macca said.
That wasn't me.
Mary Jane protested, though not too convincingly. Macca chuckled.
Oh, of course not. You're the paragon of virtue, especially when you're pissed.
Mary Jane smiled. Genuinely. But it was strained. Both men noticed.
You sure you're okay?
Caleb asked again, concern creeping into his voice.
If you need anything, girl, you let me know, yeah?
Macca added. Mary Jane nodded. Her voice was soft.
Don't have any of that mother's blessing left, do you?
Macca's expression darkened slightly. He rolled his eyes.
That ain't gonna do you a lot of good, girl.
She shrugged.
It helps.
Macca sighed. He did feel for her.
Not at the moment, but I can get you some.
Mary Jane returned to her desolate room. She blew the air out of her cheeks and rocked back and forth on the edge of the bed. The room smelled of damp and last night's gin. Barney had been round again, pressing to move back in. Apologetic 1 minute, angry the next. She couldn't do it anymore. The words she'd been hearing since she was a young girl kept resonating through her tormented mind.
You're your own worst enemy.
And she was sick to death of hearing it. She needed money. She needed a drink. Better still, some mother's blessing to quiet her head. Dorset Street felt more hostile than usual as she walked. The feral thugs on the corners were no use to her, skint as she was and twice as mean. Ringers made her stomach turn. Were the people in the corner laughing at her? She thought so. A quick scan of the bar told her she was wasting her time. She left to a chorus of chuckles. Were they at her? Probably.
Pull yourself together, you dopey bitch.
She muttered under her breath. Her reflection in the window caught her eye. She looked rough, hollow-eyed, hair wild.
Fuck it,
she whispered.
Sort your fucking self out.
On Commercial Street, the Costas' sheep's trotters smelt glorious. That smell alone told her how far she'd fallen. A year ago, she'd have turned up her nose. Now it made her mouth water. The drive to stay out of the spike was slipping away. The Costa called her over. She thought of ignoring him, then changed her mind. What did it matter?
Fuck you look rough, girl,
he said. She snorted a laugh.
Oh, thank you, mate. Just what I needed to hear.
He gave a small, genuine smile.
Haven't seen you in a while.
Skint. Old man's left me.
She said with a shrug.
I heard.
He nodded, then reached into his pouch and pulled out a sheep's trotter.
On the house, yeah, girl.
Thank you,
she said softly.
My pleasure, darling. You look after yourself,
he told her, turning to another customer. She tore into the trotter, grease running down her fingers. For the brief time it took to eat, her frame of mind lifted. The 10 bells usually fared better for casual liaisons, but not today. Today she felt eyes on her, always watching. Had they always been there? Had drink or bravado simply dulled them before? Was it all in her head? Frustrated and despairing, she drifted back onto Commercial Street. The sense of being watched clung to her like a second skin. She thought about the Princess Alice. Ever since the raid on Moses the tailor and helping Ronnie and his sister, she had been conscious of eyes, of whispers. A nervousness that sat in her chest like a stone. Pull your fucking self together, girl, she told herself, but the words had no power. Before she knew it, she was back in Dorset Street, back through the archway. back into the bare, damp room. She pressed her back to the door and slid down until she sat on the floor. The despair and the anguish poured through her, rivulets of desolation rolling down her cheeks.
It had been a month since the so-called double event. At least, that was the lurid label the sensationalist, politically driven press had slapped on it. H Division had been combing over the events in Burner Street, keeping close watch on the radicals at the International Working Men's Club, Coes especially, while the city police under D.I. Foster pursued leads in the Catherine Eddowes case. Neither force had found anything of substance. Both Abilene and Foster believed someone out there knew something, but in Whitechapel, silence was easy to buy, and easier still when the victims were unfortunates, as the press called them. To many, these destitute, aging women were expendable. That thought left a bitter taste in Abeline's mouth, as well as in the mouths of his closest men. They understood this place. Here, survival dictated everything, and desperation drove even decent people into acts of crime. Reed had once remarked to Walt with a grim shrug that if he were in their position, he'd probably do the same. Caleb was living proof of it, as he'd told Mary Jane, "What else are we supposed to do? Starve?"
Mary Jane's nerves were fraying. The gin hadn't settled her like she'd hoped. It had only left her hollow, the edges of her anxiety sharper than before. As she pushed open the doors of the Ten Bells, the night air rushed at her, cool against her hot cheeks. She stood still for a moment, breathing it in. It wasn't much, just a fleeting, bracing touch. But it was something, nothing doing tonight. No trade, no coin, and how she needed money. A pang of real desperation tore through her, worse than anything she'd felt in years. Not since France, not since the Maison Close. She thought of trying the Princess Alice for a late straggler, then thought of the bare, suffocating room at Miller's Court. The thought of those walls pressing in made her shudder. She set off, not yet sure where her feet were taking her. That was when Rigby appeared, springing from the shadows like a rat. She startled. The sight of his weaselly, pockmarked face made her stomach turn. His rancid breath hit her from a yard away, fouler than the stink of the gutters.
What the fuck do you want, Rigby?
She spat. He gave her a grin, his bucktooth catching the light.
What do you think, Mary Jane? You must be needing the money now your man's left you.
His stench, his leer, everything about him curdled her blood.
I don't need nothing from you.
She snapped. He leaned closer, chuckling.
Oh, I know you, Mary Jane. You wouldn't turn down 5 shillings, not you.
5 shillings. It twisted like a knife. God help her, he was right. She did need it. Desperately. She wasn't on the game for pleasure. She gave the smallest of nods against her better judgment. Her sixth sense was yelling at her, "Just get away from him!" But in her head, the money and the quickness of the transaction would nullify the disgust and nauseous feelings she felt in Rigby's company.
All right, where?
She muttered, hating herself. Rigby's grin spread wide.
Back at your place. I want everyone to see you walking with me. Everyone to know I've had you.
Bastard.
She hissed, but he only laughed. They set off toward Dorset Street, his stinking form close by her side. Then a gust of wind shifted the air between them. His odour had always been foul, but now another rank stench struck her. Sharp, unmistakable, rotten with disease. She stopped dead.
Show me your dick.
She snapped. Rigby blinked.
Not here. Back at yours.
No.
She said louder now.
Now?
His face twisted with rage.
Fuck off.
You've got the pox, haven't you, you filthy little bastard?
His expression soured, hate seething in his eyes.
Fuck you, bitch.
Mary Jane slipped the knuckle knife she'd taken off flowers on the frock from her pocket, holding it steady, her heart hammering. Rigby faltered, weighing his chances.
Show me your cock, or fuck off, Rigby.
They glared at each other for a long, foul moment. Then with a curse, Rigby backed away, his face twisted with loathing.
Fucking whore. I'm gonna get you. You just see if I fucking don't.
He spun on his heel and slunk into the alleyways, swallowed by the dark. Mary Jane stood trembling, a cocktail of relief, anger, despair and hopelessness coursing through her veins. She wanted to collapse. She wanted to scream. Instead, she pushed herself forward, back toward Miller's court. Her whole body urged her to call it a night. But the gnawing desperation was still there, whispering cruelly in her ear. She still needed money. A violent pounding shook the flimsy door and dragged Mary Jane up from the depths of the previous night's drink. She blinked into the grey light, head throbbing. Her skull throbbed. Hangover again. She tried to gather her wits, but the door was already bursting open. Macca filled the threshold, grinning.
Do you mind? I'm not dressed.
She groaned, pulling the blanket a little higher.
Nothing I haven't seen before.
He replied, stepping in like he owned the place. Which, technically, he did.
What do you want? I've hardly had any sleep.
Another hangover? Don't take the piss, Mary Jane.
His voice was a rasp of irritation over gravel.
What do I want? How about some rent money?
She flopped back on the mattress, utterly done, then jabbed a finger toward the neatly folded skirt on the chair by the fire.
My skirt pocket! Should be some money in there.
Macca gave a rough snort, crossed the room, and rummaged through the pockets. His lip curled.
You look rough as fuck, girl.
He pulled the garment inside out, dust puffing into the air.
You shouldn't leave your door unlocked.
I've got nothing to steal.
She muttered.
That's not what I meant.
He found the pocket empty and flung the skirt to the floor.
Though I do see what you mean. Not a penny.
Mary Jane jolted upright, temper flaring through the fog.
Do you mind?
Fuck the skirt, Mary Jane.
He snapped.
I thought you were working last night.
There was some money in there.
She hissed.
Taking the piss?
His jaw tightened.
I'm sorry about what happened, I really am. But I give you an inch and you take the fucking piss.
You said pay the rent when you can.
That was weeks ago. I didn't say don't pay any fucking rent at all.
He stared at her, disappointment sharp as a blade.
You're your own worst enemy, Mary Jane.
Yeah, so everybody tells me.
Macca cocked his head.
Lover boy gone for good.
Yeah, since he lost his job, he couldn't pay the rent either.
Stop being of any use to you, you mean?
The sneer curled again.
It's not like that.
She snapped.
Not everybody's like you.
He barked a dark laugh.
When he was earning, he treated you well. Took you to the Cambridge, bought you things, fed you well, kept you in gin, and you still shagged that plasterer behind his back. Don't forget my place is next door.
So I'm a bitch? You normally rent your rooms to nuns, do ya?
Work last night.
She nodded.
Where's the money?
A shrug.
I've been fair to you.
He pressed.
By rights, I should be kicking you onto the fucking streets, just admit it. If you spent it all on gin, say so.
Be honest.
She pressed her palms to her temples.
I don't remember.
Seriously? You need to sort your fucking self out, girl.
Another shrug. Smaller this time. Fragile.
Who the hell gives a shit anymore, Macca? You talk to the girls outside the Botolph, and they talk about chucking themselves off the bridge.
Yeah, but most of them have had their lives. Are destitute and stuck between carrying the banner and the spike. You...
He stopped, as if trying to place her in a category she refused to fit.
Me what?
Her eyes narrowed.
What are you doing down here? The shit end of the world?
Her expression turned hollow.
Don't ask.
A thin smile, crooked and tired.
My own worst enemy, I suppose. Or maybe if I didn't belong in the shit end of the world, I wouldn't be here, would I?
That where you want to end up? In and out of the spike?
She shrugged again, though a tremor shook her resolve.
Not if I can help it. You don't know what I was going to ask.
Yes, I do. I gave you laudanum last week and you still haven't paid.
It helps me work.
You look like shit as it is.
Please.
She whispered, voice cracking.
I wouldn't ask, but
No, Mary Jane.
please.
His eyes hooded with weary frustration.
Get me some rent money by tomorrow morning. I'll send Harry round. If you have some rent, he'll give you some of the mother's blessing. Okay?
She nodded, helpless. He turned without another word. The slam of the door shook her bones. Silence crept in. She dropped face first onto the mattress.
Fuck it.
She mumbled into the blankets. After a beat, she dragged herself to sitting, unsteadily crouched by her boots, and dug out 2 shillings hidden inside. One last secret she had managed to keep. Not nearly enough. The room smelled of stale fire smoke and damp. Mary Jane turned the coins over in her palm, the meager weight mocking her. Not enough for rent, barely enough for drowning despair in cheap gin. She shoved them into her bodice, slipped into her boots, and knotted her maroon shawl tight around her shoulders. Fresh air, she thought. Gin-fumed noise and someone else's laughter. Anything to avoid her own thoughts. She stepped out. Dorset Street. Morning. Dorset Street was already awake and miserable. Horsemuck caked the road. Rotting cabbage floated along the gutter with scraps of yesterday's hope. Barefoot children darted between barrows, shrieking and engaged in mock fighting and rough play. The old and broken clustered in doorways, swapping gossip. Mary Jane shuffled past them all, shoulders hunched, stomach turning. A woman in a respectable bonnet stood outside Ringer's. Caroline, always polished just enough to remind Mary Jane that slipping could be a choice or a fate.
You had a heavy night, girl?
Caroline asked, eyes dancing with humour.
Say that again?
Mary Jane rasped.
Hair of the dog for me.
Why not?
Caroline smiled. Mary Jane replied with a tilt of her head and ducked inside. A flash of lightning would help. A glass of gin always helped until it didn't. The bridge. Later, the bridge cut a harsh line against the river, teeming with carts, costermongers, clattering horses. Mary Jane paused at the railing, watching the current drag city filth out to sea. Her head throbbed. Her heart, it just ached. She leaned a little too far over. The rag and bone man clattered past behind her, calling out,
"Don't do it, girl! Something will turn up! Always does!"
His voice faded like a promise nobody intended to keep.
It's easy for you to say, pal,
she muttered, pushing back from the edge. Britannia Public House, early afternoon. Gin burned its way down and loosened her tongue. The Britannia buzzed with sailors on leave and men drunk enough to forget the wives they'd remember tomorrow. She caught the eye of a tidy little sailor at the bar. He grinned. She grinned back. Money today meant laudanum tomorrow, rent the day after, survival, one stagger at a time. A back alley. Minutes later, he was fastening his trousers and she was smoothing her skirt, both avoiding each other's eyes. No awkwardness, no shame, just a transaction. They parted without a word. Market, later afternoon. Life's carnival continued. Barkers shouting, fish slapped onto boards, steam from street kitchens curling against the chill. Mary Jane was selecting fish and potatoes she could afford when a tap on her shoulder brought a welcome warmth.
"Hello."
Lizzie beamed.
Hello, sweetheart. You okay?
Mary Jane embraced her, feeling human for a moment.
"You buying your tea?"
Yeah, you want some?
Lizzie blinked, surprised.
"Really? I'd love some."
Mary Jane nodded.
Yeah, why not?
Food for two. A small mercy. 13 Miller's Court. The fire fought to live in the grate, sending up weak flames. Fish and potatoes filled the single room with the illusion of comfort. Lizzie noticed the broken window pane.
"What happened to your window?"
Mary Jane winced.
Barney's fault.
"Did he get angry with you?"
No, he ducked. I threw an empty beer bottle at him.
"Oh dear."
Lizzie tried not to laugh.
"I take it he's not here anymore."
Mary Jane shook her head, swallowed something sharp.
"You sad? Do you miss him?"
No, I couldn't abide the man.
She sighed, correcting herself.
I mean, when he was working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, bringing in good money, fine. But stuck together all day, every day, he got on my nerves.
Lizzie smiled, trying to lighten it.
"You've looked a bit down lately."
Mary Jane stared into the fire.
Truth is, I fucking hate my life, everything about my life. I was at the bridge earlier. Thought, should I?
Lizzie's face fell.
"No? You surprise me. You're always the life of the party in the pubs."
That's the gin, Lizzie.
Their eyes met, a silent understanding.
Promise me something. Don't take the same path as me. Find a man who'll look after you, treat you good.
"Didn't Joe treat you well?"
Yes, he's a good man, but I was well past redemption when he met me. Makes me sound a right bitch, I know, but you can only pretend for so long.
Lizzie frowned.
"He's still well mashed on you."
Mary Jane shrugged.
Couldn't give a shite, honestly. My life's so crap. If he can't keep me and I've got no love for him, what's the point? He thought he was saving me, like my knight in shining armor.
"I'd love that. To get out of this shithole."
Yeah,
Mary Jane's smile died.
if only they existed.
"So, are you happier now he's gone?"
No difference?
She gave a bitter smile.
My life's been shit for years. Listen, Lizzie, whatever you do, don't make the choices I made.
Mary Jane sniffed.
It's easy to take the wrong turn. Your instinct screams no, but you ignore it. Then suddenly you're fucked. Completely and utterly fucked, in more ways than one.
Lizzie didn't know what to say. She'd never seen Mary Jane stripped of her bravado like this. It was unsettling.
So what you gonna do?
Lizzie finally asked. Mary Jane stared into the fire.
Not a lot I can do. Wherever I go, it'll be the same.
A little later, Mary Jane and Lizzie sat together at the small, rickety table, plates pushed aside and the cheap candlelight fading. Laughter from the street drifted up, a reminder that Whitechapel didn't sleep, only staggered. A sudden bang crashed through the room as the door flew inward. Mary Jane jumped. Lizzie let out a squeak. Barney stood there, breath puffing in the cold draft, eyes wide as if this was entirely normal behavior. Mary Jane scowled at him.
Ever tried knocking?
Barney blinked, caught between guilt and confusion.
Knocking?
Yeah, knocking.
Barney's mouth flapped once, twice.
Sorry,
She waved it off.
Don't worry. Macca reckons I should keep it locked.
Barney gave a small nod.
You should, especially at the moment.
Mary Jane's shrug tried for nonchalance, but unconvincingly. Lizzie let out a breath.
This Ripper bloke scares me witless.
Witless?
Barney echoed quietly.
I told Mary Jane I'd protect her.
Mary Jane rolled her eyes toward the ceiling.
Pay the rent, then.
Barney's face folded like wet paper. Lizzie caught it instantly and rose.
I best go. Got someone to meet.
She squeezed Mary Jane's arm.
I'll remember what you said.
I hope so, sweetheart.
Mary Jane managed a smile.
Maybe see you later in the Britannia.
Lizzie nodded and slipped out, the door clicking shut behind her. Silence poured in immediately, thick and uncomfortable. Barney scratched at his hat.
You all right?
Well, you know.
She shrugged again, but sharper this time.
Found any work?
His shame did the answering. He shook his head.
Don't beat yourself up. None of this is your fault. I'm a bloody bitch.
Bitch?
Barney repeated, wincing, his echolalia prominent.
Sorry.
Mary Jane huffed something like a laugh.
I know you can't help it. Echoing. And honestly, you probably think I am one. You're right.
You know how I feel about you.
I do. You shouldn't. I'm a lost cause.
Barney swallowed.
Are you working tonight?
Don't start,
She warned.
Macca's on me again about rent. Swears he'll chuck me out.
Come live at the lodging house with me. We'd be all right. I'll get a job.
No!
It came out fast, sharp. She softened only slightly.
Barney, it won't work.
I think the world of you.
He whispered.
I know. You shouldn't. Find a good woman, a woman who'll give you a proper life. Kids, not me. I can't give you anything but misery.
He stared at his boots, hat clutched in his hands.
I just wish it could be like it was when we first met.
Mary Jane's heart clenched at the sight of him, bowed and broken in front of her.
I have to work,
She said quietly.
to keep this room, to eat. You know you can't cope with that.
I know.
The defeat in his voice chilled the room.
You'd best go. I've got to head out.
Where?
She gave him a look that answered everything.
Sorry.
Barney murmured.
Sorry I can't help keep you.
I know, mate.
He eased his billycock hat onto his head, paused at the doorway.
Can I come round again?
She shrugged and put up her hands as if to say, up to you.
Just knock next time.
Barney nodded once more, a man stitched together with heartbreak, and slipped out. Mary Jane sagged onto the bed, letting out a long sigh. Britannia Public House. 10:45 p.m. Raucous laughter. Spilled ale. A fiddle screeching in the corner. The sort of noise that convinced you living still meant something. Mary Jane leaned close to a short man with a carroty moustache. Bobby. A merry grin plastered permanently across his face. Mary Jane was loud, in an exaggerated, reckless way.
Come on, Smiler, give us a song.
Bobby only grinned wider. Maria, perched opposite them, raised a single eyebrow so high it deserved applause.
Seriously?
She mouthed. Mary Jane leaned in voice low.
I need the money, Maria.
Yeah, but him?
He's harmless.
Maria's face begged to differ. Miller's Court, 11:55 p.m. Mary Jane steered Bobby along the dark, narrow passageway into number 13, him clutching a pail of beer like prized treasure.
In you go, Smiler.
She said, unimpressed. Mrs. Cox bustled in behind them, pausing mid-stride.
Good night, Mary Jane.
Good night, Mrs. Cox. Do you mind my singing, Coxie?
Is that what it is? I thought you were murdering someone's cat.
Mrs. Cox peered past her at Bobby's idiotic grin.
Well, good luck.
Mary Jane rolled her eyes and shoved Bobby inside. Number 13, 1 a.m. Bobby lay sprawled on the bed, grin fixed and idiotic as the moon. Mary Jane stared at him like a stain.
Right, time to sling your hook.
Already?
Already? You cheeky sod. We said 4 shillings. You've only got a florin.
Someone must have robbed the rest.
Oh, piss off. Only one of us has been robbed tonight. Go on before I call for the shunters.
Next time I see you in the Bells, I'll buy you a gin. Promise.
You owe me more than a gin, you cheeky bugger. Out!
She bundled him up, shoved him through the door, and slammed it before he could answer. She leaned against it, head back.
For fuck's sake!
She breathed silently. The florin went straight into her pocket. Her gaze caught the broken mirror on the mantel.
You can sod off too.
She slapped it face down. Number 13, 2:10 a.m. The fire hissed in the grate. Mary Jane lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rhythmic creak of an enthusiastic couple upstairs. Loneliness clung to her like the damp. She reached beneath the bed. Her fingers closed around a laudanum vial. Empty. She shook it anyway. Nothing. Despairing, she threw the vial at the wall. It dropped and bounced off the floor without breaking. She muttered,
"Fuck it."
She dressed quickly, shawl tightened around her shoulders. She hesitated at the door. One last chance to stay safe.
"Fuck it,"
she muttered again, impulsive as ever. She stepped out into the night. Mary Jane wandered out from Dorset Street and into Commercial Street, her boots heavy, her mood heavier, weary and still a little drunk. A cold chill gave a bracing feel to the night air. The streets were quiet and unsettling at this hour of the night. A dog barked somewhere down an alley, and footsteps echoed on wet stone. Bleary-eyed, she spotted a man heading toward her. He smiled. She was too tired to think too far ahead. The chill, the loneliness, the need for money. She ushered him wordlessly through the archway into Miller's Court and into her room. The fire in the hearth sputtered low, barely more than embers, casting the cramped space in a restless flicker of orange. Mary Jane slipped off her shawl, grabbing the candle fixed into the mouth of a wineglass. She leaned toward the firelight and coaxed the wick into flame. All the while, the stranger watched her, his eyes tracking every movement in a way that prickled her skin. She placed the candle back on the table, its tiny glow battling the gloom. She gave the stranger a half-hearted smile, but she felt strange, uncomfortable, and a little nervous. She couldn't put her finger on why. She had done this many times before, and only occasionally felt this way. She shrugged it off. All in her mind? Probably. The man said nothing, just watched. A bead of sweat dropped down his forehead. He looked heightened, exhilarated. Mary Jane stepped closer. Their eyes stayed tangled as she eased his coat from his shoulders, performing the familiar dance of a working girl. She offered a faint, teasing smile. His gaze never shifted. It felt like being studied rather than admired. A puzzled unease crawled beneath her skin. She turned from him, pretending confidence, letting her fingers work slowly down the buttons of her bodice.
"You okay?"
she asked as she looked back over her shoulder. He said nothing, but nodded and gave a slight smile. Not of happiness, more of anticipation. Mary Jane was sure she saw the man's hand shake.
"You seem a bit nervous,"
she said. Again he said nothing. His lips twitched again into something that might have been a smile. This unnerved Mary Jane.
"You're not very talkative, are you?"
Mary Jane raised a brow.
"I'm sure you've done this before."
He didn't reply. Another bead of sweat trickled down his cheek, gleaming in the candlelight. The silence pressed in too close. Mary Jane slipped her bodice off, the thin chemise beneath revealing the curve of her breast. He stared. No spark of lust. Just watching. Something inside her warned her to run. Her sixth sense, her primeval instinct, was screaming at her. Get away, get the fuck out of there. But she brushed it off. Her head telling her it would be okay. Just get it over with and get the money and everything will be okay. Footsteps echoed briefly from the courtyard outside. Hope fluttered in her chest. Barney or Macca, ignoring her requests to knock and just barging in like they always did. She wouldn't mind this time, she would forgive them, even thank them. The stranger stiffened. His eyes darted to the door. The footsteps faded into nothing. Her heart toppled from hope into disappointment. His shoulders loosened in subtle relief. He grinned. Cold ice descended down Mary Jane's spine. She turned back to the chair near the fire, folding her bodice neatly to buy time, to think, to calm the clawing sense that something wasn't right. The candle flickered, stretching his shadow across the wall. Longer, monstrous, devouring the space near her bed. She raised her eyes to the heavens, closed them in hopeless realization, and mouthed to herself, "What the fuck have I done?" Her eyes stayed fixed on the shadow. Her throat tightened. She slipped out of her boots and placed them beside the fire, stalling. His breathing thickened with a sound too close to hunger. Mary Jane unfastened her skirt and folded it with practiced neatness. She turned slowly. The stranger grinned again, the anticipation and excitement exuding from him like a tidal wave. Hands clapped around. The candles sputtered. The shadows danced. Her heart thumped loud enough she thought he might hear. She uttered her final words, as if to the world.
Yeah? And fuck you too.
The morning of 9th November broke like any other, grey, cold, unremarkable, until the door of Lehman Street Police Station burst open. Walt was leaning on the counter, chatting with the desk sergeant, when a man came tearing in, breathless and wild-eyed, having sprinted all the way from Dorset Street. The man's words hit like a hammer. The killer had struck again. And this time it was worse. Much worse. Walt froze. A cold shiver ran down his spine. Without waiting for details, he bolted from the station, running full pelt to Dorset Street, and wishing with every pounding step that he'd never have to see what awaited him. Room 13 of Miller's Court. The sight would stay with him until the day he died. Those eyes, wide, staring, locked in an expression of frozen horror, the final terror of a woman torn apart. The room was a charnel house. Blood splashed up the walls, pooling across the floor, pieces of flesh and clothing strewn like butcher's scraps. Walt had seen death before, too many times, but never like this. Macca, the landlord, was beside himself. First came grief, raw and unfiltered. Then came the rage. Walt could see it burning in the man's face, and so could Billy, Johnny upright. This one would not be forgotten.
Lucy sat at the table, the steam from her tea rising into the cold morning air. Her stomach twisted. Since the incident with Tommy, she'd expected to feel relief, freedom, even, but it hadn't come. Instead, a strange vulnerability had settled into her bones, an unshakable unease. Doubt gnawed at her. Maybe she'd been wrong. Maybe she hadn't. But something inside told her the danger wasn't over. Not really. She sat in silence, nursing the tea with trembling hands, when Gabe burst into the kitchen. He slammed a copy of the latest news sheet onto the table in front of her. Lucy looked down. The headline hit like a hammer. "Ripper strikes again." The cup slipped from her hand and hit the table, spilling hot liquid across the wood. Lucy froze. Her blood ran cold. Gabe's voice sliced through the silence. Sharp, cruel, full of barely restrained fury.
"Seems you were fucking wrong, doesn't it?"
She looked up, trying to find something in his eyes. But there was only rage and guilt.
"You thought the same,"
she whispered, barely audible. Gabe shook his head violently, his jaw clenched, his whole body tensed as the anger spilled over.
"Oh no, 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 don't you fucking dare blame this on me, you bitch."
She flinched. She'd hit the nerve, the truth. Gabe had killed his brother, and now the guilt was eating him alive. But he wasn't about to take the blame. Not now. Not when there was someone else to unload it on. He slammed his fist down on the table, making Lucy jump. Her shoulders curled in, defensive, broken.
"I suggest you get the fuck out of my pub, you conniving little slut,"
he growled. Lucy's voice trembled.
"But I've got nowhere to go."
"That,"
Gabe spat,
"is your fucking problem. Now get out, you conniving little slag."
She stood slowly, blinking back tears, and turned to head upstairs. Gabe stepped in her way.
No, you don't.
He sneered.
Anything up there belongs to me now.
Lucy stared at him, shocked. But in her heart, she knew. He wasn't just angry. He was punishing her. He knew what Tommy had done to her. The years of torment, the broken self-worth, the hollowing out of her soul. He knew she had nothing left in her to fight back. And that's exactly what he was counting on. Her shoulders sagged in defeat. Wordless, hopeless, she turned and walked out. Through the tradesman's entrance into the grey, heartless cold of Whitechapel. Alone. Like a lamb to the slaughter.
Interrogation room, Leman Street Police Station. The room was dim, the air heavy. Barney sat hunched over the table, cap in hand, his coat grubby and his face pale. He looked disheveled, haunted, and not just by grief. Aberline sat across from him, calm but observant, while Reed leaned by the door, arms crossed. Aberline spoke first, his voice quiet but steady.
Do you believe she always told you the truth?
Barney blinked, echolalia kicking in.
The truth, yes, yes.
He nodded, nervous.
We argued, but I was always good to her.
You went to see her the night before the Lord Mayor's show?
Barney echoed.
Lord Mayor's show? Yes.
What time?
What time? About 8.
Reed stepped in sharp.
Did you leave on good terms?
Barney hesitated, confused.
On good terms? Yes.
Aberline and Reed exchanged a glance. Reed pressed further.
What time did you go back?
Barney blinked again, trying to track the question.
Go back? I didn't go back.
You sure about that? Not what I heard.
Reed's voice had a bite. Barney's confusion grew. He rubbed his temples.
I didn't go back. I wish I had. Maybe I could have saved her.
Reed stepped forward slightly.
How often did you raise a hand to her?
Barney stared at the tabletop. The guilt was written across his face.
Only once, and she drove me to it. She'd wind me up when she was drunk. She used to talk about some ex, just to get at me.
Aberline leaned forward.
Only once?
Barney nodded.
Only once. I hit her and walked out. Felt sick with myself. Didn't come back for a day.
Reed raised a skeptical brow.
And she took you back?
She did. That time.
Barney whispered, burying his face in his hands. Reed and Aberline shared a long look. Aberline tilted his head toward the hallway. Outside in the corridor, Aberline lit a cigarette.
I don't think it's him,
he said quietly. Reed nodded.
By the sounds of things, he was smitten with her, and when he lost his job...
They got under each other's feet.
Aberline exhaled slowly, finishing the sentence.
You heard what her friend Lizzie said. Mary Jane told her she couldn't stand him, even though he was good to her.
Reed opened his notebook and checked his notes.
Yeah, and according to Prater, yeah, that was her name. She said Mary Jane still saw her ex, that bloke Flem.
Aberline nodded.
That's the one Barney mentioned.
They looked through the small glass pane at the hunched, crumbling man still sitting with his face in his hands.
Look, Gov,
Reed said.
My wife drives me mad sometimes too, but lashing out in an argument is one thing. What happened to Mary Jane? That's something else entirely.
He paused.
Still, he does match some descriptions. Knows the area, known by the victims. They'd have felt safe around him.
Reed turned to him, puzzled.
So you do think it's him?
Aberline smirked, tired.
No, Eddie. I'm just thinking out loud.
So what do you want to do then, Gov?
Aberline gave a small laugh and rubbed his eyes.
Go home to bloody bed.
Reed nodded in agreement.
Yeah, I know the feeling, Gov.
Aberline took one last glance through the glass at Barney.
Let him go. It's not him, but keep someone on him for a day or two, just in case.
Reed nodded again.
Right you are, Gov.
Aberline walked off down the corridor, cigarette glowing in the gloom. Reed returned to the room to deliver the news of Barney's release.
The morning broke damp and grey, the air sharp with the tang of chimney soot. By noon, the streets of Spitalfields thronged with people. More than had been seen at any funeral in years, word had spread far and wide. Mary Jane was to be laid to rest, and the whole of Whitechapel seemed determined to follow. The open hearse creaked forward, polished oak and elm coffin gleaming in what little light broke through the clouds. Upon it lay 2 wreaths and a cross of heartseed, the pale flowers startling against the varnished wood. Behind came 2 mourning carriages, wheels crunching on grit and broken stone. Yet the procession was no hushed affair. It was defiance in motion. Publicans and their best customers marched side by side with women the papers called unfortunates. Children clung to their mothers' skirts, women with infants on their hips leaned from doorsteps, and men doffed their caps as she passed. "God forgive her," some cried. "We will not forget her." For many, it was an excuse to gawk, to drink, to exclaim at the strange carnival of mourning. Yet there were tears too, real ones, and faces hard with anger at the waste of it all. Caleb stood at the edge of the crowd, cap pulled low. As the coffin drew near, he stepped forward, pressed his lips to his hand, then laid that hand gently on the polished wood. His voice caught as he whispered,
"Find peace now, girl."
Then he stepped back quickly, blinking hard, swallowed by the press of mourners. Macca watched from a doorway further along, half hidden in shadow. Beth tugged at his sleeve.
"You're not going with them."
He shook his head, voice rough.
"Got business."
That was all he said. He could not tell her the truth, that he couldn't face the sight of Mary Jane's box borne through the streets like some spectacle, couldn't bear the tightness it put in his chest. So he let Beth go without him, and stayed with his back pressed to the brick, listening to the muffled sobs and the tramping feet pass by. The hearse rolled on, trailed by carriages and a tide of people, some solemn, some half-drunk, some weeping openly. At Dorset Street, the crowd thickened so much the cortege near stalled. Above the heads and hats, the coffin glimmered beneath its flowers like a final beacon for the girl who had once laughed there, sung there, fought there, lived there. Through Whitechapel and onto St. Patrick's it went, the cries of the mourners swelling and fading like a tide. At the churchyard gates, the press of bodies thinned, the last hats tipped, the last blessings muttered. And then the earth claimed her. The ropes squeaked, the coffin thudded against clay. The flowers wilted fast in the damp air. Some prayed, some cursed, some simply stared. But in the hush that followed, one thing was clear. For that brief procession through the slums of London, Mary Jane had not been forgotten.
Moses the tailor had kept his distance all day. He'd watched the funeral cortege rattle its way through the streets, watched the mourners trailing behind the open hearse, even sat in the corner of a pub across from the cemetery as the mourners drank to Mary Jane's memory. He didn't drink to her. He drank to no one. But he remembered her well enough. Too well. When the crowd had thinned and the last hat had been tipped, Moses rose from his seat. By then, the coffin had been lowered, resting in the raw clay, waiting for earth. He walked across the cemetery, his boots sinking in the wet grass, and stood over the open grave. No sorrow marked his face, only a cold, fixed contempt. He leaned forward, spat. The glob landed on the brass plate nailed to the lid.
"Bitch,"
he hissed. Then he turned and strode away without a glance back. At the far end of the cemetery, two women were tending another grave. One knelt to lay flowers for her recently departed father. The other had seen Moses. Her eyes followed the spit, the hateful snarl, the stiff shoulders as he left. She nudged her companion.
"Did you see that?"
The first woman frowned, wiping soil from her gloves.
Obviously not popular with everyone.
Her friend shrugged, eyes still on Moses's retreating figure.
"Such is life."
Macca sat in the back room of the chandler's shop, surrounded by crates of soap, lamps and old iron tools. He was perched on a box of candles, elbows on knees, lost in thought. The events of the morning of the 9th looped endlessly in his head. He swore he'd seen someone leave Miller's Court. Not someone who lived there. A stranger, quick, quiet, like a man with something to hide. And then there was Mrs. Maxwell, the deputy's wife at Crossingham's, insisting she'd seen Mary Jane alive early that morning. So when exactly had he seen that shadowy bastard slipping away? Before Mrs. Maxwell's sighting? After? Before Harry found her? It twisted his brain in knots, but one image wouldn't leave him. The scene in Mary Jane's room. Blood on the walls, her body barely recognizable. Macca had only seen it for seconds, but it was etched into his mind. He hadn't slept properly since. He'd made her a promise, said he'd look out for her. Sure, she was a firebrand, impulsive, volatile. But she hadn't deserved her fate, and he'd failed her. Beth had tried. So had Harry. "Not your fault," they'd said. "You couldn't have known." But it didn't matter. Macca had already judged himself guilty. Now all that was left was vengeance. He stood up, the box creaking beneath him. His eyes were hard, jaw locked with a grim purpose.
"I'll know that bastard if I see him again,"
he muttered. And if he did, he'd deal with him proper. He grabbed the axe handle he kept by the stockroom door. Scarred oak, heavy in the hand, familiar. A few cracks, but still solid enough to cave a man's ribs in. Then he marched round to Crossingham's and found Harry, Caleb, Louis and Donnie.
"No questions," he
told them.
"We're going looking."
"For who?"
Harry asked, already knowing the answer.
"The cunt I saw leaving the court."
And with that, the 5 of them set off, through the alleys and lanes of Whitechapel, stalking every pub, beer house and Skinner's Den, searching faces, waiting for Macca's memory to click. And when it did, there'd be no shunters. No courts, just Macca and the axe handle. Macca stood on the corner, leaning against the outer wall of ringers. He knew exactly who he was waiting for. Beth had asked what he was up to.
"Minding my own business,"
he'd said flatly. She knew better than to push him after that. Just left him to it. 2 hours passed, though it felt like longer. He watched the world roll by in its familiar, filthy rhythm, and found himself wondering how the shunters did this sort of stationary duty day in, day out. It'd drive him bloody mad. Every so often, someone stopped to say hello or ask his thoughts on the latest murder. Polite questions. But the more he was interrupted, the more his calm began to fray. Then he saw him. The man, same hat, same coat, same walk. The figure he'd seen leaving the court that morning. He was sure of it now. Macca peeled away from the wall and started following him. Kept his distance, not too close, not too far. Just enough to stay in step, but out of sight. The man turned into Flower and Dean Street and went inside a lodging house. That was enough for now. Time to get the boys. That night, Caleb and Harry were on the lookout. Macca had described the man in detail, the best he could. And as they waited, they began to understand the scale of the shunter's struggle. Faces blurred in the fog, fleeting silhouettes, half-glimpsed movements in the dark. But luck was with them. Just past midnight, a man matching the description emerged from the lodging house and made for the Princess Alice on Commercial Street. Caleb sent word to Harry, who passed it on to Macca and Donnie. All 4 converged outside the pub. Macca didn't want blood yet. This time, they'd do it right. No back-alley beatings, no street justice. They'd drag the bastard down to Lehman Street and let Johnny Upright sort it. Let Laura Norder have her way. Inside the Alice, things kicked off quickly. Macca's booming voice cut through the crowd. Locals, riled up by rumor and booze, called for a lynching. It took every ounce of Macca's adrenaline to hold them back and get the man outside. A march to the station followed, the man protesting his innocence all the way. Evo, for reasons only he knew, relieved him of the few coins he carried, something Macca barely registered in the heat of it all. This was it, Macca thought. The noose at Newgate waited, but the world had other plans. The man had an alibi, airtight, witnesses, locations, times, dates. He was clean. At Lehman Street, Macca and the boys got a bollocking, assault and battery for Caleb and Harry, robbery with violence for Donnie. Macca was gutted. He knew he'd seen that man leave the court, but maybe knowing wasn't enough. As they trudged out of the station, Macca heard Johnny Upright's words echo in his head.
"Catching this killer ain't as easy as the public reckon."
And now, Macca knew just how right he was. Reed's office, Lehman Street. Aberline stepped from the cab and made his way inside. A new witness had come forward, just like that, out of nowhere. Hutch was his name, a lodger at the Victoria Working Men's Club. At first, Aberline had confused it with the Burner Street anarchists, but Reed had quickly put him straight. Now they sat in Reed's smoke-hazed office. The DI leaned against a filing cabinet, arms folded, already skeptical. Aberline had started the interview with cautious optimism, but the longer it dragged on, the more that optimism waned. The statement had taken an age to write. Reed had made his feelings known from the start, loud and theatrical as they'd entered.
"Why the hell wait this long before coming forward?"
he'd demanded. Aberline had glanced at Hutch, quizzical.
"You've got good eyes then, Hutch."
Hutch nodded.
I'm very observant, Inspector.
Aberline nodded, playing along.
Undeniably so, Hutch.
From over the man's shoulder, Reed gave a slow look of disbelief.
Spats! A ruby pin! An astrakhan coat! Down Dorset Street? In the dark?
Hutch nodded again, beaming.
Yes, sir?
Reed couldn't help himself.
Surprised he wasn't fucking mugged before he even got near Miller's Court.
I was the only one about,
Hutch insisted.
I waited 45 minutes.
Convenient,
Reed muttered. Aberline gave him a glance, then turned back to Hutch.
So, would you be able to recognize the man again?
Oh, yes,
Hutch said eagerly. Aberline barely hid the smirk tugging at his lips.
That's wonderful, Hutch. Thank you so much for your help. Don't go running off. We'll need you for an identification when we find this gentleman.
Hutch nodded, maybe a little too enthusiastically.
I'd be glad to help, Inspector. She was a good friend.
Aberline stood and opened the door.
Must have been very upsetting for you, Hutch.
Hutch lingered.
Oh yes, very upsetting.
Goodbye, Hutch. We'll be in touch.
Before Hutch could say another word, Reed closed the door on him. Cap in hand, Hutch paused a moment in the charge room, then shuffled out into the street. Inside, Reed gave another incredulous look. Aberline burst out laughing.
Talk about being full of shite,
Reed muttered.
Don't tell me you don't believe our fine upstanding witness, Eddie,
Aberline said with a smirk. Reed gave a grunt.
You know as well as I do, Gov. I spent all yesterday down Crossingham's with the Shah, interviewing every sod in the place. Could I tell you what any of them were wearing? Could I bollocks?
Aberline grinned.
I was with Walt. I bet you remember what he was wearing.
Reed scowled.
Don't take the piss! They don't call Walt Blue Surge for nothing.
Aberline leaned back in the chair, hands behind his head.
You think someone's put our mate Hutch up to it?
Wouldn't surprise me,
Reed said.
That's why the little bugger was so keen. No one sees that much detail. Not in those streets. Not at that time of night.
Yeah, but who? And why?
Aberline shrugged.
Maybe he's got eagle eyes and a photographic memory.
Yeah, of course, Gov. That's why he's penniless, homeless, and sleeping at the Victoria Men's Club.
Hard times?
Hardly likely. He's full of shite.
Aberline nodded, stretching.
Well, we've got nothing else, so we still follow it up.
He paused.
Which reminds me, you remember me and the Shah took statements down Dorset Street?
Reed said.
Oh yeah, the deputy near Crossingham's, Mrs. Maxwell.
That's the one. She swore blind she saw Mary Jane at 8:30, then again at 9:30 on the morning of the 9th. Said she was sure of it.
Aberline raised his eyebrows.
Impossible. Dr. Bond pegged time of death around 3 in the morning. Plus, we've got those cries of murder that the neighbor heard right around then.
Reed shrugged.
Yeah, I know, Gov, but she swore blind.
Aberline sighed and shook his head.
Not helpful at all.
Reed agreed.
Nope.
Joseph sat at his desk in the upstairs room of the Crown pub, with Abraham standing at his shoulder, both engrossed in discussion. Suddenly, Macca burst in, followed by Lusky.
I tried to stop him, Joseph, but he's in a right foul mood,
Lusky muttered. Joseph and Abraham turned to face the new arrival.
Is he indeed?
Joseph asked.
Yes, he fucking is.
Macca snarled.
And with good fucking reason.
Joseph nodded calmly.
Okay, Lusky, no problem. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Lusky closed the door and settled into his usual spot in the comfy leather chair in the corner.
Well?
Joseph pressed. Macca jabbed a finger at him and Abraham.
You know more than you're fucking saying about this bloody killer.
Abraham bristled.
Don't come in here shouting the odds, Macca. We're not any of your pathetic little thugs from the slums.
Yeah, that about sums it up. You lot think you're a cut above everyone else, and that people below you are expendable.
Joseph leaned back in his chair, growing weary of Macca's aggressive demeanor.
If you got something to say it and then fuck off.
Macca nodded.
Really? One of my girls is chopped to bits on my manor, and you think I'm just shouting the odds? I want it sorted. One of you lot knows what's what. There's only one reason the shunters ain't found this bloke, and that's 'cause someone is hiding him.
Abraham silently fumes.
Who says? How do you make that out? It was us that put a fucking reward up.
Macca leant on the desks.
I ain't saying it's you personally responsible, but I'm from Irish descent, boys. I know exactly how it works. No one likes to give the local shunters nothing. It's all kept in-house. Someone of your lot knows who's doing this and is hiding it.
Abraham and Joseph share looks. Lusky chimed in.
You would say that, wouldn't you? The feral scum that inhabits your street is just as likely to be responsible. After all, did the killer on the double event head your way?
Macca laughed.
What the chalk writing? More likely your anarchist mates.
Blood was found in an outside wash basin in Dorset Street. Was it not?
Macca shook his head.
Don't mean shit. Big ruck in the blue coat boy that night.
Joseph and Abraham couldn't quite suppress their sneers. Macca noticed.
Don't think I don't know how your minds work. You've said it yourselves. Feral scum, wasn't it?
He leaned in.
While someone's out there butchering destitute old women forced onto the game, your sort think the bastard's doing God's work. But one of my girls, chopped up in one of my rooms, nah, I ain't fucking having it, gentlemen.
He jabbed a finger at them, full of fury.
You lot know more than you're letting on. And I want this fucking killer stopped.
Abraham glared.
Or what, Macca?
Macca paused, eyes flicking between them.
What are we saying here, boys? You want to push me, is that it?
Joseph held up a calming hand.
No, we're not saying that at all.
He shot Abraham a look, warning him to stand down.
We'll ask around,
Joseph continued.
See if anything's turned up. If there's something strange going on, we'll root it out. We all agree it's time this slaughter ended.
Macca let out a bitter, humorless laugh.
You see that you fucking do.
He gave Abraham and Lusky one last burning look, then stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Abraham muttered under his breath, still fuming. Lusky stood and stretched.
He's full of shit, that one.
Joseph shook his head slowly.
Maybe, but don't underestimate him. He may act like a thug, but he's got more influence than you'd think.
Abraham scoffed.
Him?
Joseph turned, serious now.
Yes, I've heard things. I don't want a war. And besides...
He looked between them.
He's got a point. Maybe we need to ask in places we've not asked before.
Abraham and Lusky said nothing, but after a beat, they nodded, reluctantly. The smoke held like a haze in the gentlemen's club. The first gentleman read the broadsheet newspaper and shook his head.
Have you read this anarchist rubbish?
The gentleman asked, exhaling a plume of smoke. The second gentleman nodded, his expression fixed with distaste.
Yes, I find it both dangerous and absurd. I agree,
said the first, reclining slightly. The second continued, drinking his brandy.
Their aim, apparently, is to bring England to its knees, to abolish the sweating system, eliminate prostitution, and end the exploitation of the poor.
The first gentleman chuckled.
What world do these people live in, as if disorder leads to salvation, utterly deluded? I believe,
the second said quietly,
they must be dealt with.
The first gentleman nodded and leaned closer to his compatriot.
Time for Ivan and Gabe earned their money.